What's up guys, it's your boy 4D Floyd, and today I wanted to discuss what I've learned from freelancing. The past 18 months I've been freelancing as a filmmaker slash video editor ever since I lost my job early last year. This past year and a half has been a roller coaster. It's been a challenge, but freelancing has had its pros and cons, and today I wanted to discuss what I've learned from it and some advice to anyone who's going into the profession, especially in the arts. So the first thing I wanted to discuss is the hours. The amount of free time you have as a freelancer is insane, depending on how busy or how many people call you to, work for them at any one time. For the most part, I have a lot of free time, which gives me time to do things for myself, which is what a lot of people don't have the luxury of. I can pick up hobbies because of it. I took up music, as well as obviously editing independently for my YouTube channel and other things, and I just get to do a lot more things for myself than I would usually not be able to do if I was in a regular 9-to-5 job. So it is really nice to be able to be at home, and not to say that I don't do anything at all. I'm very productive, but it's very nice to have a lot of time to myself. There is such thing as having too much free time, and you feel like you're not moving forward or being very productive. Obviously, it depends on what you're doing, but there are times where I'm like, okay, because of financial issues, I need to be getting more work. But the free time is one of the best things about being a freelancer. Which brings me into the second point about freelancing, the routine. Now, as I mentioned, you don't get a lot of free time if you're a 9-to-5er, because you have the same routine of waking up every Monday, Tuesday, every day of the week, going to work at a certain time, coming back home in the evening, and you just have the weekends to look forward to. And it's just the same routine. Whereas when you're a freelancer, depending on who's, what jobs or work you have in any given week, there's never 2 weeks of the same routine. So for example, I could be working here in London, and then on Monday and Tuesday, and then I'm working down in Surrey for the rest of the week, or I'm working 1 day of the week, or 2 days of the week in London, or 2 days a week in Surrey, or just it's just all it just differs basically. There's a lot of variety in the routine when you're a freelancer, which is why as well, what I've found when I've spoken to some people, they've been like, I'm getting bored of my job, it's just the same. They're talking about the routine, it's just the same, it's mundane. And that's one of the rubbish points about being in full-time employment. Even though it's very secure, it does get a bit boring, depending on your job as well. If it doesn't help if you don't like your job. So if you're doing the same routine and you hate your job, then it's The third point I wanted to talk about is the value of contacts. It is so important to have contacts and to know people when you're freelancing. People who know you. People always say it's who you know, but actually it's who knows you. I went on placement to a digital media house called Bold Content, and from then on I've always been able to contact them looking for work, and they've been able to give me work if they have any. On top of that, this year I've gotten in contact with another person called Lee John, who is a musician. But the way it happened was just so weird. If you're a freelancer in the arts, mandy.com is where you need to be. And so I made a profile, I got into there, and I started searching away. Looking for jobs just became so tedious and tiring, and especially that I wasn't getting any luck. But the fact that I was still getting work from the contacts that I had, it was okay. So I kind of gave up basically. Bold Content got back in touch with me in September last year, and I was working with them from September up until Christmas. Come the turn of the year, the work has dried up, and basically there's not enough work for me to be able to come in. I was left in a lurch. I was back to square one basically. It felt like I'd been sacked all over again. A month or two later, I get an email regarding an application that I put in last March, and I was so confused. I was like, I don't recognize this application. And then I get a call from Lee John, who at this point I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. He's describing who he is, he explains who he is and what he does and what the project is about. But I'm still like, I'm so confused. Like, I don't remember putting an application in. So who'd only got in touch with me on an application that I put in a year ago, almost a year ago. So to me, it was like, wow, it's just funny how things work out. Like, it's just, again, the value of contacts. If people know you, then it makes life so much easier, because looking for jobs can be such a pain. Now, last but not least, the most difficult thing about freelancing is the financial side of it. I've had a lot of financial struggles with freelancing. There's not a lot of money in the arts. Everyone knows this. You know, the arts is very poorly funded and whatnot, and especially in this country. And basically, you know, whenever I get work, it's a couple £100 here, a couple £100 there, but you know, it's not getting me anywhere. It's not enabling me to move on to the next stage of my life. And it's been very stressful. Money issues is very stressful, you know, and I'm just about keeping my head above water. And so that's one thing that's maybe say to myself, maybe I need to get back into something that's more stable, something that pays well, and that will enable me to move into the next stage of my life, which is, you know, getting a car, moving out, you know, in my own place, and, you know, going on holidays and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So another thing that I've learned about freelancing is the lack of security that it provides. Listen, I'm not gonna front. Going into freelance is a risk, especially if you don't have any contacts. Like I said, the value of contacts is so important that if you don't have it, you could be waiting for a long time to get your next opportunity. So it is very insecure, basically, being a freelancer. And sometimes, even when you do have contacts, you know, you're not guaranteed to get work every single week. So there could be times where, you know, you do get a lot of free time for yourself, a lot of time to yourself, but again, you're not getting any money, and that poses a lot of problems, needless to say, because, you know, money is, well, it's important, really. People need money to pay their bills and stuff like that. So that is one of the most scariest things about freelancing, is that it's a massive risk if you're not, so if you don't have that kind of head start with the contacts and already. So that's what I've learned from freelancing. So just some final piece of advice: build yourself a network of contacts, be proactive, and make sure as well, this is another point I want to make sure that when you're freelancing, because you have to register as a freelancer, as self-employed, make sure that you save money to pay your taxes at the end of the tax year. A lot of people forget to do this. Save money, keep a record of the expenses you spend to do with your work, travel, anything like that. Keep receipts, keep a record of it. Trust me, because a year down the line, when you're making your tax return, you're going to need that information to be able to calculate how much you should be paying towards your taxes. So that is one of the most important pieces of advice I can give you. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.